Hey guys, welcome to Surf and Show. I'm Noel Salas, and today is episode 1 of our How to Surf Better series, and the topic is Frontside Tail Slides. This is going to be fun. Sit back, get your favorite drink, enjoy the show. Now, if you're new to our How to Surf Better tutorials, this is how it works. We take a topic, you're watching Frontside Tail Slides. We put episode 1 out on YouTube free of charge for all to enjoy. But each topic is a series, and every episode gets a little bit more advanced. This is how we progress your surfing. Now, episode 2 is already done. Just click the link below in the YouTube description field. You join our family, you become a patron, and you pledge $5 for the month to unlock exclusive content in multiple topics. Now, I highly recommend before you watch episode 2 in this topic that you watch the series on bottom turns and frontside snaps. This will help you with proper technique and body mechanics to progress faster in this topic. All right, enough about that. Let's have a look at a couple waves and see what we're working on in this episode. Now, as I go to the bottom, quick bottom turn, nice little tail slide, engage the fins, quick snap, and finish it with one more turn. Let's slow it down, look at that tail slide again. Now, this wave's giving me the time to go to the bottom and do a bottom turn, but I want to pause it right here. It's super important that wherever you want to do your snap and slide the tail, you want to be looking where you want to go already, right? So let's undo that. As I come out of this bottom turn, I want to focus on my trailing arm. You can see how it's well behind me now. I'm actually loading up, and as I get to the top of the wave where I want to do the tail slide, watch the trailing arm come forward, and that's going to shift my weight forward, and now the tail's getting free. I want to get in close, and I want to point out that my arms are above my head, and that's going to make me a bit more weightless and enable me to get the tail free. And I would say if we were to talk about my weight distribution right here, I would say it's probably 60% on my front leg, 40 on my back. And I also want to point out that I'm pushing my back leg somewhat straight to get the tail to come around. And now I would say my weight's 50-50. And as I'm drifting in the slide, I want to point out what my arms are doing. Do you see how they're at my side on both sides of my body? That's going to give me good balance, and eventually it's going to stop sliding, and then I'm shifting my weight back to go right back into a bottom turn and get 2 more snaps. And I want to point out that when I shift my weight back, it enables the fins to engage again and to get a couple more snaps. Let's have a look at a couple more waves. Now on this wave, I'm going to float over this section, come off the bottom, slide the tail. Let's slow it down, look at it again. Now it's important to generate as much speed as possible for tail slides and all your maneuvers. So I float over that section for a little extra speed, a shallow bottom turn here. I want to point out that my trailing arm's behind me, so I'm loading up to hit the oncoming section over here. And as I start to come to that section, watch my trailing arm come forward. Now I'm starting to rotate and shift my weight more forward, and I want to point out that I'm kicking my back leg somewhat straight here. Both my arms, let me zoom out, are going to be at my side, and now I'm starting to look down of where I want to go next. So everything's starting to come around and the tail's sliding. And now I want to point out that my weight is now shifted to 70% on my front leg and 30% on my back leg. And the only way for me to get that tail to stop sliding is watch me shift my weight back. Everything's still forward. Now I'm starting to shift it back. That engages the fins, and the board starts to turn around naturally. And I want to point out that I'm already looking over here, and it's so important that we look where we want to go and the board follows. Now on this last wave, quick little snap. We've got an oncoming section, get some speed, slide the tail. Let's slow it down, look at it again. Now a quick little snap right here. Then I'm going to generate some speed. Now I don't pull this tail slide, but we can definitely learn from it. So right here, you can see I'm starting to coil up. My trailing arm's behind me. I'm making that shallow bottom turn, and then watch my trailing arm start to project forward, and I'm going to start to rotate the body, the tail starting to slide here. Look at my arms. Everything's nice and wide on this arm here. Let me zoom out. This arm's way out here. And I want to point out that as the tail's getting free, I never straightened my back leg. So you don't have to straighten your back leg. It's really about shifting your weight forward. And you can see right here that my chest is over my knee here. And I would say that's a 70-30 weight distribution. And everything's coming around to slide. And I kind of get hung up in the whitewash. But look at where I'm looking. Can you see how my head's looking this way? And let me zoom out. The nose of the board's way over here. So as soon as I shift my weight back, I'm going to engage the fins right here. See it shifting? And now the nose of the board's coming around. I kind of get hung up in the whitewash and I lose it. But I thought it was worth a look. Now that we've seen a couple waves and we know what we're working on, I want to remind you that the wall behind me is my wave. A couple important things that I always want to point out is for nice, crisp turns, we want to make sure our back foot is all the way back on the tail block, or if you use a traction pad, get it right up on the tail kick. Now, when we go into maneuvers, it's key to have speed. That's the first thing. And we want to do a good maneuver, frontside, tail side. If we're going top to bottom, we have to have a solid bottom turn if we're going to come off the bottom and do our tail slide here, or if we have a section coming at us, we want to do a shallow bottom turn and hit that section to slide the tail. Now, some of the things that are really important is what makes the tail slide is shifting our weight forward. It disengages the fins and it allows the tail to drift or slide. Now, on one of the waves, I go to the bottom and I create that bottom turn. I get nice and low. I have that speed. I look up, and when I look up, I pick my spot that I want to start this tail slide. And I generate that speed getting nice and low. I come out of it and I begin to wind up, and this back trailing arm is loading, and when I get to the lip, I'm going to project forward and throw my trailing arm forward, and I'm going to shift my weight forward. Remember, that's how we get the fins to disengage and slide the tail. If I come off the bottom and I push my back leg straight and the fins get free, the board's going to slide because the fins are not engaged. However, we don't have to go past the lip with our fins for it to slide. We can actually ride it on a lip and do that snap like you're riding the coping of a ramp or something, and just shift the weight forward and get those fins to release and it'll drift. And that's kind of what we saw me do on the first wave. And when we're loading the trailing arm and we're projecting forward, what brought me to that section was where I was looking. So we use our head in the snap to project, and we look down, and that opens the shoulders and hips. And I'm shifting my weight forward, more like 60-40 on the first one, where I'm drifting the tail and sliding it, but I have about 60% of the weight on my front leg, and I'm starting to slide down the wave face, but my head is already looking down. I want to point out that my trailing arm, when it came forward, it came to about right here, and then as I'm sliding and I'm looking down, both my arms are at my sides. And that's giving me good balance over my board. And by looking down, my weight starting to shift back, that's what's going to engage the fins again and allow me to go into a bottom turn and get 2 more snaps. Now, we saw another wave where I created a lot of speed by doing this projection floater and the section's coming at me. And I did a shallow bottom turn. Wanted to come into it more diagonally. And when I hit that one, my trailing arm went forward and I kicked my back leg straight and I got nice and low, and then you saw my hands went to here, my back leg dropped down flat, and I would say my weight was more like 70% on my front leg and 30 on my back leg. And because my back leg bends like this and my hands are like that, that's going to keep everything super centered and give me good control. As soon as I shift my weight back, the fins engage, and naturally the board goes back into the direction that I'm looking. So, a couple things to remember. If we're going to attack the wave and we want to do a tail side, we're going to have to do a solid bottom turn if we're going top to bottom. or a shallow bottom turn coming in more diagonal. I'll talk more in the next episode about kicking the back leg straight and how we can increase power and work on other types of tail slides with more technique. All right, let's get on our Carver surf skate and start working on a drill together. All right, guys, I've got my Rad Ripper. Front truck is a C7 and back truck, both set to medium. I highly recommend that if you don't try these kind of tail slides and stuff, you can tighten up the front truck a little bit. That'll give you a little bit more control. But when I say it's to medium, it's easy to move, but it's not super loose. Now what we're gonna do is, I don't have many cones out today. What I really wanna focus on is, I mentioned this when I was talking about the wall behind me is my wave, is for you to get the tail to slide, we don't have to get them above the lip. What we want to do is we just want to shift our weight forward. And when we shift our weight forward in that turn, the tail's going to get free. It's going to get loose and slide. Now, one of the things I want to focus on is I want to have my back foot all the way back on the kick of the skateboard, and I want my front foot right up over the screws here on the front truck. And when I go to hit my turn, I'm going to shift my weight forward, and the tail's going to start to get loose and come around. And these wheels are super soft. And the whole idea behind a Carver surf skate with the soft wheels is to have that traction. So to get it to break free and slide, we're going to have to really shift our weight forward. Now I want to say, you want to be careful, because once you slide it, and if you slide it too far and you're riding backwards, the Carver's so loose with the C7 truck that it can be hard to control. That's when you want to put on your pads and your helmet so you can do this with confidence. All right, so just have a little bit of speed, widen your feet out, and when you come up to the top, shift your weight forward and slide the tail. Now, as you get more comfortable with this, you can really focus on shifting the weight super far forward, and it gets even easier. Nice wide stance, solid bottom turn, slide, right out. Bottom turn, slide, right backwards, right out. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed episode 1 of Frontside Tail Slides. Episode 2's done. Just hit the link below in the YouTube description field, become a patron, and unlock that exclusive content in multiple topics and progress your surfing. Look, if you like the show, subscribe, ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and give us a thumbs up if you like our content. Until next time, we'll see you in the water. Bye-bye.